Guys, I want you to remember a point. If you divide your objects into some parts, it does not matter by what reason. By using which of the tools, part would recognize them in the schedule table. Also in the scene. Let me give you an example. For example, about flooring. I click on floor. Let me set the work plane at first. I specify level 1 as the work plane. Then I pick floor. I sketch a rectangle by this way. Very well. Let me modify the type. Well done. Final level of detail. Actually, this object is a mixture of parts. Let me open a new family template file. Then let me specify the type of the template file, generic model face based, by this way. Wait for a second, please. Very well, I don't want to waste my time. I pick void extrusion. Then I start sketching a simple geometry just for using it in my example. Very well. Then let me specify an offset, for example 10 centimeters or 5 centimeters to create line to the specified offset. I select the two lines and then create similar. I check multiple. I'm trying to design a format for it. Let me connect these two lines by this way. I select them and then by create similar, let me trim these. Very well, again I select them. Then I wanna create similar. Check this out. For example 6 by this way, 3 at the top, and then I use mirror. Very well. Let me move them upwards. Check this out. And then the top one. After that, the bottom one. Very well. Sometimes you may want to use void extrusion in sketching a design, for example. Something like this, as you can see. Let me rotate it by the specified angle, 90 degrees. Very well. I want to maximize the size or just enlarge them. Very well. I think it's enough. Let me trim the extra parts like in this manner, as you can see, and then by using the split to cut them. As you can see, it took a long time. I didn't want this, but I should complete them in order to just continue my instruction about this topic. Wait for a second, please. Let me split these lines. And I'm sorry if the process is getting time taking, but I have to click on these elements to split them by this way. I do appreciate your patience. Let me trim the splitted lines. The process is getting complicated, unfortunately, but we should take our time. And after that, we're gonna use the sketch in flooring, as we are using void extrusion in a face-based family template file. I trim them. Very well. I continue trimming the extra lines by this way. And after that, I'm gonna place this sketch on the floor. Following that, I'm gonna add more sketching inside these sketches, like a sketch in Illustrator or Corel. But the main topic here I'm gonna talk about is to operate or to use a predefined sketch or design in flooring in Revit. Let me extend these to connect these two lines. Finish. Then in the 3D view, let me show you what we got. Check this out. As you can see, these families are created in face-based template file. I place them right here, and note that if you want to load a family in your project, to void an element, it should be a face-based family, and then I click on cut. Check this out. Right now we got voids, as you can see, and the voids are going to be created in the project as well. Here I'm gonna create an extrusion here as a signal or a symbol, and then I load it into my project. Well done in the 3D view. Then I place them on the face. As you can see, the floor is voided. In other words, we got some grooves on the floor. Right now, after voiding the floor, we want to select this part. As you can see, we are not able to select it. I mean, if when we use void, we're not allowed to select these objects. But if I click on create parts, then I can select these small pieces of the void, as you can see, separately. These are recognized as the parts, and this is a combination of the families, I mean extrusion, void extrusions, and the parts, that I can select this part, and you can see the different parts through the layers. We got the finishing floors, as you can see, and here you can enable the shape handles, and then work on the size of the part, or even modify the material. And another topic about parts is that here there is an availability. After creating parts from a void extrusion, we can enable the shape handles and then modify the thickness of the voids. And you are unable to do this without creating parts, since only creating parts enables us to work on the thickness of the parts or the voids. And these are practical in interior design. For instance, you can use these on the walls, floors, slabs, or on the ceilings using voids and the extrusions, and you can control the size of the voids by the shape handles by this way, as you can see. And at such a condition, the finishing floors are prepared, and we only need the substructures. As you can see, you can modify the materials of the two layers of the floors. Here we can also add another layer on this floor. After that, we will have 3 layers. Then we consider the first layer as the substructure. And if we want to do this, we can put these into a section box and then control the materials and the structures of the layers. Watch this. I want to explain more what I told before. Very well. Here, if I open South View, here we got the floor, as you can see, that we used it for creating parts and the different parts. Let me modify the parts visibility, show original by this way. If you modify the edit assembly after creating parts, let me open edit assembly here. For example, here we got a 5 cm layer. I can insert another layer. I move it down by this way. Well done. I click on OK. Then let's check it out in 3D view. As you can see, here in the 3D view, we got 3 layers in the floor because we have created the floor into parts. And here, if I select the middle layer and then I enable the shape handles, as you can see, the middle layer is passing through the last layer or the exterior layer. As you can see, there is no limitation in extending the size of the layers. Even you can move the middle layer and then place it on the exterior layer. I place it right here. Then the lower layer is the substructure. So we can modify the material, and as I showed you, we can move each of the layers upwards and downwards. Very well. And the final topic that I want to talk about is scheduling. As usual, we are dealing with scheduling. Wait for a second, please. Let's see. Here I want to sketch a wall. Let me specify the type of the wall in type selector. And then we're gonna have our last topic. Then I want you to take your time practicing on these topics about scheduling and the parts. Well done. Here as you can see we got a wall. 2 meters for height and width both. Well done. 2 meters as you can see. And the thickness, I choose 20 centimeters or 200 millimeters. So 2 meters for height and width and 20 centimeters for thickness. Then I schedule it. I choose walls in the category and then the fields that I want them to be scheduled. First of all, area and also volume. Okay, very well. 4 meters. 4 square meters for area and 0.8 cubic meters for the volume. Let me open 3D view by this way. Actually, this is the view of the family. I got no access to the 3D of the wall. In the continuation, I'm gonna select the wall and then create parts and then check the changes in scheduling in a schedule table. But let me create a new material takeoff, walls, and then the fields or the properties, area, material area, and also material volume and material name. I remove area. Okay. Everything is clear. Then I select the wall, I create parts, I choose the wall and then divide parts by editing new sketch. Then in edit sketch command, I set the work plane at first. I set it on the surface of the wall and then I pick line. I divide the wall into 3 parts by this way by sketching 2 lines. Finish. I select, I uncheck material by original. As you can see, the associated material is default wall. I modify it. I choose, for example, frame. Then for the another one, I select, uncheck material by original. Then I open material browser. For instance, I associate glass. Okay. Watch this part carefully, please. Since after that, we're gonna check out the schedule table. Very well. I open wall schedule. Here nothing has changed as you can see. Let me check wall material takeoff. As you can see, nothing has changed. I mean, these are the same values, the previous values for material area, material volume, and name, and nothing has changed. But the point here is, when you create parts from your wall, as you can see, there is a special category for the parts, as I mentioned before, which is the category of parts, as you can see. I want to say that we got a specific category for scheduling the parts in our project, which gives us the information about parts. So I choose part and then I click on OK. Then I specify the fields or the properties, for instance like area. And here as you can see, we got a specific, or let me say unique field, which is original category, which gives us the original element of the parts and also original type and volume that you can schedule them. So let's see, check it out. As you can see, we got the area for each of the parts separately, the original category, the original type, and the volume. As we did have 3 parts, each of the parts is computed or calculated separately. Here as you can see, the total value will be 5, not 4. The difference here is because of the rounding values. Value here is the rounded total value. And if we want to specify the materials associated to the parts, we should create a material takeoff And after specifying parts as the category, I should specify the fields, material area, material name, and original category. And then I click on OK. Wait for a second. As you can see, we got 3 parts. One of them is default wall, and the other ones are frame and glass, which were modified. As a result, when you create parts from walls, the scheduled material does not change, while you can have some new informations given by part material takeoff separately. And as I told you before, the total value was greater than 4, which was because of the rounded values. Right now, if we calculate these values, the total value will be almost 4, since the decimal places are defined here and the values are not rounded. So there is no difference between part material takeoff and wall material takeoff.